Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 6. Conversation between Narad and Vyasadeva. Text 1. Sutta Uvacha. Evam nishamya bhagavana devarshir janma karma cha bhuya prapachhatam brahman vyasa satyavati sutaha.
Translation. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narad, birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavatis, inquired as follows.
Text 2. Vyasa uvacha bhikshu bhirva vipravasite vijnana drishtra bhistava vartamano vayasyadhe tata kim karod bhavan.
Translation. Text 2. Sri Vyasadeva said, what did you, Narad, do after the departure of the great sages, who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
Mataji, I cannot see the text 3. Text 3. Swayam bhuva kaya vritya vartitam te param vayaha katham cheda mudastrakshi kale prapte kalevaram.
Translation. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your all one in due course?
Text 4. Prak kalpa vishayamitam smaratim te muni satama na yesha vyavadhat kala esha sarva nirakritihi.
Translation. O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time?
Text 5. Narada uvacha bhikshu bhirvipravasite vijnana mama vartamano vayasyadhe tata etadakarasham.
Translation. Sri Narad said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way.
Text 6. Ekatmaja me janani yoshin mudha cha kinkari mayatmaje nanya gato chakre snehanubandhanam.
Translation. I was the only son of my mother, who wasn't only a simple woman, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection.
Text 7. Saswatantra na kalpasit yoga shemam amechati ishasya hi vashe loko yoshadaru yatha.
Translation. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she wasn't able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master.
Text 8. Aham cha tad brahma kule उषीवास्तदुपेक्षया दिग्देशकालव्युत्पन्नो बालकः पच्चहायनः.
Translation: When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana's school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
Text 9. Ekada nirgatam geha dhuhantim nishigam pathi sarpo dashat padas prashta kripanam kalachoditaha.
Translation: Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was beaten on the leg by a servant, influenced by supreme time.
Text 10. Tada tadahamishyasya bhaktanam shamabhipsataha anugraham manyamana prathishtam dishamuttaram.
Translation: I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north.
Text 11. Svitan janapadan tatra puragrama vrajakaran khetakharvatravashtischa vananyupavanani cha.
Translation: After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forests.
Text 12. Chitra dhatu vichitradrim ibhi bhagna bhujadruman जलाशयाच्छिव जलान्न नलिनी सुरसेविता चित्रस्वने पत्ररथे विभ्रमद भ्रमर्श्रियः.
Translation: I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered beads and singing birds.
Text 13. Nala Venu Sharastanba Kushaki Chaka Gahvaram Eka Evati Yata Yato Amadraksham Vipinam Mahat Ghoram Pratibhayakaram Vyaloluka Shivajiram.
Translation: I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals.
Text 14. Parishantindriyatmaham trataparito bubhukshitaha snatva pitva hride nadya upasprishto gata shramaha.
Translation: Thus traveling, I felt tired, both bodily and mentally, and I was both thirsty and hungry. So I took a bath in a river lake and also drank water. By contacting water, I got relief from my exhaustion.
Text 15. Tasmin narmanuje ranaya pippalopastha ashritaha atmanatmanamatmatstham yatha shutamachintayam.
Translation: After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree, in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the Supersoul, situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from liberated souls.
Text 16. ध्यायतश्चरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसः औत्कण्ठया शुक्लाक्षस्य हृद्यासीन्मे शनिर्हरिः.
Translation. As soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart.
Text 17. Premati bhara nirbhinna pulakangoti nirvatritaha आनंद संपलवे लीनो ना पश्यामु भयं मुने.
Translation. O Vyasadeva, at that time being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord.
Text 18. Rupam bhagavato yattan manakantam shuchapaham apashayan sahasostasthe vaikal vyadhurmana iva.
Translation. The transcendental form of the Lord, as it is, satisfies the mind's desire and at once erases all mental incongruities. Upon losing that form, I suddenly got up, being perturbed, as is usual when one loses that which is desirable.
Text 19. Didrishustadaham bhuyah pranidhaya manoridi vikshamaanopi na pashyam vitripta ivaturaha.
Translation. I desired to see again the transcendental form of the Lord, but despite my attempts to concentrate upon the heart with eagerness to view the form again, I couldn't see him anymore, and thus, dissatisfied, I was very much aggrieved.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji's wonderful recitations.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, are you here now? I'll make you host now.
Thank you. Very good. We're doing verse number 19, is it?
15, Prabhuji.
15, okay, yes.
Yeah, verse number 15 today, yeah.
Yes.
And you're the host now, yeah? Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatodayam Kirayet Nastapráyesha Vedveshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Shvatam Sakatha Krishna Punya Shavakirtana Hridiyantostahi Abhadrani Vidunoti Swasatam. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, verse number 15. Tasmin nirmanuje lanye vipalopasatta ashitaha atmanatmanam atmastham yathashrutam atmintayam. Tasmin nirmanuje ranye pipulopastha ashritah atmanatmanam yathashritam achintayam. Tasmin nirmanuje ranye pipulopastha ashritah atmanam yathashritam achintayam. Synonyms. Tasmin, in that, Nirmanuje, without human habitation, Aranya, in the forest, Pipala, banyan tree, Upasthe, sitting under it, Ashitaha, taking shelter of, Atmana, by intelligence, Atmanam, the supersoul, Atmastham, situated within myself, Yatha Shrutam, yes, I had heard it from the liberated souls, Achintayam, thought over. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the Supersoul, situated within, using my intelligence, as I had learned from liberated souls. Purport. One should not meditate according to one's personal whims. One should know perfectly well from the authoritative sources of the scriptures through the transparent medium of a bona fide spiritual master, and by proper use of one's trained intelligence for meditating upon the supersoul dwelling within every living being. This consciousness is firmly developed by a devotee who has rendered loving service unto the Lord by carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Sri Naradji contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus, he began to meditate. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakcharan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Tasmin nirmanuje ranye pipalopastha ashritah atmanam atmastham yatha shrutam achintayam. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming back to the session of Chad. The eagerness to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in whatever situation and conditions. It's very encouraging to see everybody coming here every single day, in and out. Really want to thank you, the two reciters for today, Anju Mataji and Drishti Mataji. I hope these are the two readers. I'm taking the right names here, but thank you very much for your wonderful recitation. So we are continuing with our understanding of the facts and factual historical evidences of what Narad Muni was in the past. He's telling himself to Vyasadeva, and he's describing stage by stage what has happened. Now, if we just look at this verse, which is 1.6.15, prior to this verse, he mentioned that he met this wonderful Vedantist, the devotees of the Lord, and thereafter, when they left, unfortunately, his mother left her body by a snake bite. Now, although Narad Muni was only 5 years old at that time, he could still had the wisdom to see this event as a benediction by Lord himself. He felt that somehow or the other, now I have nobody, and this gives me an opportunity to advance in spiritual life and to see the unfortunate situations of this world as benedictions given by the Lord is very high level of consciousness. And we must therefore appreciate that this 5-year-old boy who was living in a Brahmin school, he has developed that kind of wisdom by in association of the pure devotees of the Lord, and by serving them, by having their reminiscences, and most importantly, by hearing from them how to pursue spiritual life. So after doing that, he started to travel from various places to other places of forest. I was reading Prabhupada's purpose, in which he is mentioning that it is important for a spiritualist or a sannyasi to go out in the forest and feel dependence upon the Lord, and somehow or the other come closer to the Lord that way. Of course, that was very true for those days, but for these days, we are great to just chant, do harinams, book distributions, and live in that consciousness of trying to achieve spiritual perfection. So he was very tired and he was very hungry, Narad Muni was, and after taking bath, etc., he was very exhausted. And that's when he sat under a banyan tree. And he says in particular that he started to meditate upon Super Soul, which is situated within. And he says, I was using my intelligence, and which I've learned from liberated souls. Now, this fact of intelligence is quite important, because intelligence is actually the reins of the soul, which can control the unbridled mind and therefore take the senses in the right direction. However, if intelligence is not purified, then mind dominates, which is governed by the desire to enjoy the objects of the senses with the help of senses. And therefore, then the impurified mind uses intelligence in achieving those outcomes which are materialistic, temporary, and does not pave any way to the eternal happiness. That's the work of impurified mind. When the same mind becomes purified by the association of Vedantists or pure devotees of the Lord, then one is able to utilize their intelligence and be in a situation that he can then think of within. Most of the time when mind is impurified, the mind is looking outside, because all the objects, senses are outside, which will give the pleasure to mind. The pleasure of the mind are just not physical objects, but also subtle desires of prestige, of followers, of wealth, of intelligence, which is materialistically dominated. But these factors then govern the behavior, emotions, and actions of people. Whereas when the mind is purified, it does not think like that. It thinks what like Narad Muni is describing here, It's very important to understand that it has to come from parampara, the way to know God. And Srila Prabhupada does not leave any opportunity to specify this time ever and again. Because somebody reads this purport, he can think that, okay, let me just go to a secluded place, I'll sit there, I'll meditate within, and I'll achieve God like Narada Muni did. But no, it doesn't have to be done whimsically. It has to be done in parampara, as to hear, understand, and then act upon it. In that age, super soul is described where one could meditate upon. But Srila Prabhupada has given us phenomenal process where he has described how you can be connected with super soul or with Krishna. You can be connected with the medium of service, active service through the senses and intelligence being utilized in that service. And that way, one can easily connect with Krishna. You do not have, one doesn't have to go within and meditate upon super soul. One can meditate upon the manifested form of the Lord in the form of deities. And these deities are present before us. One can decorate them, one can feed them, one can take care of them, one can dress them. And that way, his senses or her senses can become fully saturated by the vision of the Lord. And that way, we can see that how beautiful is the process. The process is same. You're meditating, but you're meditating in a different way. You're meditating upon something which can be visible to our objects of senses. And Srila Prabhupada has made this very, very easy. And then can hear from the ears, can speak from the mouth, can taste from the tongue, can engage the senses of touch into the service of the Lord, bathing, abhishek, dressing, flower, garlanding, all kinds of beautiful devotional service, direct service to the Lord. In that way, one can prepare oneself to go beyond deliberation, beyond mukti. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, emphasizing on super soul. Let's understand this super soul as well. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matah smritirganam apohanam cha. Is saying that I am present, sannivishto, hridi sannivishto. I am present in the heart of every living entity. Krishna is claiming that. And also in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has specified that there is a kshetra and kshetragya. There is a field of activity, which is the body itself, and there is a knower of the body, and which is nobody but soul. A soul is only knowing his or her own body, whereas kshetragya, which is super soul, is also kshetragya. He knows not only the body of one person, but he knows the body of all the persons, what's going on in each and every body. And that's quite amazing, because nobody can claim to be himself to be God except for God. Because God is claiming to be present everywhere in the form of super soul. His hands are everywhere, his legs are everywhere, his mouth are everywhere. He's conscious of everything, and that is the whole reason that he can accept all our offerings from anywhere geographically and at a mental platform, because he's inside, he's outside, he's everywhere. The super soul is defined to be situated within our hearts. And Chaitya Guru, which is Guru himself, is expansion of super soul. So in Sri Brahma Samhita, it is also mentioned like this. Let's read the shloka. Eko api asau rachaitum jagananda kotim yacha chakthirasti jagadanda chayayadantah adantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindam adipurusham amaham bhajami. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord, who I adore. This is Lord Brahma singing glories of Super Soul or Krishna himself. So we know this verse, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaneti Shabdyate, that God can be realized in three forms, Brahmeti, which is Brahman Jyoti, Paramateti, which is Lord within the heart, and Bhagavaniti, Krishna in his complete opulence as a personal God, with whom you can have a proper relationship. So, so these verses are highlighting that how the super soul is present in everything and everywhere. Now, yeah. So if I go to chapter 13 that I was discussing on, nature, the joy and consciousness, Bhagavad Gita. When we were studying Bhagavad Gita, this chapter was really giving us the omniscient, omnipresence aspect of Krishna. He himself says here that you should understand in text 3, you should understand that I'm also the knower in all bodies. Look, if somebody wants to context us, that how can you prove? Look, Krishna himself is saying that. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. So in Krishna's opinion, the knowledge is not so many other things, but knowledge is knowing the person who is possessing the body and knowing that body. And that becomes knowledge. And he further goes on saying that knowledge of the field of activity and of the knower of activity is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially present in Vedanta Sutra. And then, furthermore, he says, I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. This is the verse. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, head, and face, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvato shishiro mukham sarvatah shutimalloke sarvam avrittatishthati. And Srila Prabhupada has given this wonderful analogy of the sun. As the sun is diffusing, sun exists, diffusing its unlimited rays, so does the super soul. And he exists in his all-pervading form. In him exist all the individual living entity, beginning from the great teachers, Brahma, to the small ants. Their unlimited hand, leg, eyes, unlimited living entities, all are existing in the super soul. So there are two kinds of things being talked about. One is the Mahavishnu, in which everything exists and which comes out. Then all living entities in all the atoms is expended as all-pervading super soul. So Srila Prabhupada explains here, individual soul cannot say that he has hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That's not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage. This thinking is contradictory. So he's again challenging the philosophy of Mayavadis that we will become God and we'll become all-pervading and will become everywhere, which is not possible. Then he says, this means the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is therefore not supreme. Supreme is different from individual. And then he gives this example. If Lord is far distance away, how can he accept things? Because Lord is promising, I'll accept flower, fruit, little water. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakti apriyakshati. How is that possible? Because Lord is omnipotent. This is his potency. This is his potency. He is always engaged in pastimes in his transcendental planet, but still present for all of us. So this is the super soul. Going back to the verse, in which we were reading that Naraji is now meditating upon the form of the Lord as supersoul in his heart. The supersoul is, so this is how our Lord is present everywhere. He is easily accessible, but not to everybody. Only to those who are devotees of the Lord, who not only are devotees of the Lord, but they seek shelter of the devotees of the Lord. By taking or seeking shelter, then they are given this jnana or knowledge of the Supreme or the Supersoul. And by following a certain process of meditation, they can achieve the Lord. Now, there are various kinds of meditation processes in the world, various kinds. When I was very young, when I was in the university and I was looking for the path of spiritual life, I got this very nice Bhagavad Gita from Bombay in a hotel called as Taj Hotel. I was there for studying my university internship in a factory. And I went to this hotel, Taj Hotel, out of inquisitiveness, as a student was trying to explore the city. And then I got to this showroom where I found a beautiful book in a nice wine color with some golden letters, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And I was very attracted to that book, which I picked up. So when I picked up that book, I was very, very eager to read the book. And when I came back to my place of residence, I opened the book and started to study that book. I just couldn't understand much, so I kept it on the side. I got back to my university after 2 months, and then I started to read the book again. And the book said, the only things that I could understand that time, the book said that all these thoughts in the mind are flowing like rivers, and they'll go and merge in the ocean. So become an observer to these thoughts. When you become an observer to these thoughts, then you will witness yourself differently from the thoughts. And that way you can understand that you are different from this body. I thought, great, that seems like a good process. So I closed my room and I started to try to meditate upon this, sit silently in the folded form. I started to meditate on his whole thoughts. And when you are young, what kind of thoughts can cross your mind? So I was very puzzled as to what is this? And so the next day I felt, I don't know how to realize we are soul, but I'm quite attached to my hair. Why don't I go to a barber and just give it a clean shave? That way I can look, I can feel myself detached from the body. So I went to this barber. I asked him to shave off my hair. And he said, are we sure? Those days it was not very common, specifically in India. And so I shaved off and I came to the university. My professor, he was coming from a Brahminical culture. And he asked me, oh, something wrong happened with you? Why have you shaved off? And then I have not left any shikha. It was Brahminical. So I said, look, this was the reason. I said, oh, I thought somebody has died in your family. Anyway, I felt that so many more people were asking, attracting to me. I said, I don't know how to work this out. So I went back, digged the book again and again and again and again, but I just couldn't get anything out of it. That book was not written by a devotee of the Lord. It was written by some impersonalist. I would not like to quote the name, but the book made absolutely no sense, but some abstract philosophy. And this is going back in 96, 98. So this is 98, year 98. I was completely perplexed. I had no idea what to do because there was no process given. How do you meditate? Then I approached another personality who was very famous, Vrindavan, and he said that you meditate upon the form of the Lord. You construct the form of the Lord in the mind. How do you construct the form of the Lord in your mind? You haven't got any experience of constructing the form of the Lord, and form of the Lord is not to be constructed, it already exists. How do you, Lord mercy will come in the heart and you can see the Lord in your heart that way, like Narad Muni is trying. Or how can he construct his ears, his eyes, his nose, and the mind, and then you try to form a form, and then you meditate? So I completely was baffled, and I could not just believe that what is the right process, And they all say the right things. You meditate upon the God, but how do you meditate upon the God? That's an art. And in the Kali Yuga, you're meditating upon the Lord. We're hearing the holy names of the Lord, because holy names of the Lord are not different from the Lord. And by just being meditation, having that meditation, Srila Prabhupada is saying that you're directly in contact with Lord Krishna himself. You don't have to separately now meditate. Now, he always says, you want to remember Lord, you just chant Hare Krishna. And that's the remembrance of the Lord. While chanting, you hear the holy names of the Lord. And by doing so, you're meditating upon the Lord. And when we are devotees, we take darshan, beautiful darshan, physical darshan. What do you get in your mind when you're chanting, or when you think about Radha Gokulan, a beautiful face, darshan of Radha Gokulan emerges, Radha Rani's emerges, Radha Landaneshwar emerges, right? In our heart, in our mind. And then our senses become very purified, saturated, full of love. So this is the way Prabhupada has given. Unless we hear these things under parampara, we cannot really progress in spiritual life. It is almost impossible. When I read Srila Prabhupada's book overnight, I read that book, Prabhupada's biography in Nottingham, 99. Just a year after, I was experimenting with all these spiritual process. Before I got Prabhupada's book, I also got a Buddhist book. I was in Nottingham, in the halls of residence, Blenheim Hall of Residence. I'll close my room and I'll just sit there, and it said you meditate upon some kind of shunya, nothingness, and then I'll close my eyes and try and meditate. But it's just not possible. There's no such space where you can go and meditate your mind, which is nothing. Seems like absurd concept now. Absolutely dry, philosophically speculated, completely twisted process, which has absolutely no end result. There's no connectivity with the spiritual life. All you can get, perhaps, some control of your thoughts. And I don't know, with those control of thoughts, what is one is supposed to do? Where is the end goal? So these kind of meditation processes. But here we see that Narad Muni is focusing in his heart in the form of super soul. Now, who is going to tell someone that, look, your heart has two people? One is you yourself, and there is a super soul seated with you. Nobody has told us before this, before Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has told us the super soul is seated, and he's given evidence from Shastra. We know from the life story of Parikshit Maharaj, how he was attacked by Asatthama, by the nuclear weapon, by this Agni Shastra. And then super soul, in the form of Lord Vishnu, he descended from the heart of Uttara into the womb and protected Parikshit Maharaj. And that's where Parikshit Maharaj saw the beautiful darshan, four-arm lotus, four-arm form of Lord Vishnu. And that way, he kept on wanting to see that form again in the form of Lord Vishnu. So this way we can see that the process of meditation, it has to be in parampara. We must know what we are seeking. If one doesn't know what they're seeking, how are they going to get there? That's the point. Now, in this case, Narad Muni was taught this process of focusing on super soul. In our case, we are taught that we should focus on the holy names of the Lord. And we should also serve the deities at the temple or the deities at the home. That way we can purify our senses. By purified senses, our mind will become purified. By purified mind, we can have an intelligence which can take us to the lotus feet of the Supreme by the process of active devotional service, not a sentiment alone. An active devotional service is like a verb. Work hard with your senses to come closer to Krishna and closer to the devotees, closer to the parampara. And that way we can experience bliss, we can experience joy, which spiritual life promises, which is actually the constitutional position of the soul. And that is what Narad Muni was looking for. We will see in the next verses how he will have the darshan of the Lord. And because of that spiritual bona fide process, he got connected with the Lord. And then when Lord gave darshan, he also gave some instruction to him, and then he followed on with that. So this is very beautiful pastimes of Narad Muni. And now when we talk about devotional service, I would like to take up the opportunity to discuss something about Bhadra Purnima. But before I go to that discussion, I would like to have any comment or question if there is.
Hare Krishna, Manu Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for sharing your journey when you got the Bhagavad Gita and how you've been trying and eventually you have got into Srila Prabhupada's. It's really a really beautiful journey, and it really kind of how Krishna, because Krishna is in our heart as a super soul. Moment you thought of something, you got some Bhagavad Gita. So your process has started, It's just so amazing hearing you, and then you are experimenting how do I get this, so eventually Krishna has brought you into the right place. So it was so wonderful. I was also thinking, like you said, the temple worship, and you get connected. Today is normally I bathe my deity on Ekadashi.
Yes.
So as I was bathing, I said, how fortunate we are because of Srila Prabhupada. We never would have a deity of Gaunita at home, So I was bathing and putting them wonderful outfit, and then you put the jewelry, you put the crown, and they look so beautiful, And then I take a picture. It was so wonderful. So all this process Srila Prabhupada has given us, it's just so wonderful. Nobody told us all these before, because it's really nice. And you started my thought process also. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing this wonderful, even so we can see how you rightly said how beautiful is this process. Engage the senses, you can engage your mind, you can engage your tongue, you can engage every particle of this body, literally in the service of the Lord. Now, those who have got it straight in the spoon, they might not appreciate, but people like me who have struggled to get there, I have so much of appreciation.
No, you are already, but you are just too humble. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
sharing this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Is there any other comment or question with regards to Super Soul or anything else? We can talk about it. I'll give one more minute. Then we'll talk about Bhadra Purnima's campaign.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Manu Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Manu Prabhu, it's Vamana Dev's Jayanti today.
Oh, yes.
So would you like to tell some story about that?
Oh, thank you for reminding, because we fasted till 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vaman Dev appearance day ki jai.
Actually, tomorrow, Prabhuji.
Yes, Shaleshu, thank you. Yes, it is tomorrow, but because
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, because we fasted, I think that's why.
Today.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll leave it for tomorrow, Kishrani Mataji. Shaleshu has saved me now. Thank
No,
you.
Prabhuji, I wasn't stopping you from glorifying. I was just correcting when it is.
No, we'll leave it for tomorrow because I just want to cover some points of Bhadra. But thank you, Mataji, for reminding, and Prabhu for reminding us. So, yeah, Vaman Deva ki jai. Beautiful Lord in the form of God form. He appeared. Beautiful, 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 attractive form of the Lord. So Vamandev appeared like that, and in disguise, he took away everything from Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj being the devotee of the Lord, He was so happy to give. He was so happy to give everything to the Lord. And at the end, Atmanivedanam, he gave his head, he gave himself. My Lord, now keep your third step on my head. And Shukracharya, wasn't it? The guru, he was trying to make Bali Maharaj persuade him against doing all this. So giving donation or charity to Vamandev, but Bali Maharaj wanted to. As a result, Vamandev agreed to be with Bali Maharaj eternally, in his kingdom. This is how our Lord is so merciful. He only comes and conquer our false ego. He conquers our false ego, our false identities with this body and possessions of this body. And then when we take shelter of his lotus feet, then he gives himself completely to us. This is how wonderful Lord is. And if as conditioned souls, we can recognize this aspect of Lord, then we can be more focused on our devotional services to the Lord, and we can be more happier and open to give ourselves to the Lord. So this pastimes of Vaman Dev is actually the pastime of surrender or Sharanagati, complete Sharanagati, complete surrender to the Lord, without holding anything back for ourselves altogether at all. Really, it's a beautiful, beautiful pastime. So I'll leave for tomorrow's speaker to speak more about it. Now, we'll just walk through this beautiful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is on, and you must have all heard, we can hear it again, 12, 13, 13. Rashtapadyam, Rashtapadyam, Parnamasyam, Hemasimha Samanvitam, Prashtapadyam Paurnamasyam Hemasingham Samanvitam, Dadati Yo Bhagavatam Sayati Paramam Gatim. Dadati Yo Bhagavatam Sayati Paramam Gatim. One who will give this Srimad Bhagavatam, this gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, they'll reach to Param Gati, they'll get the supreme destination. How? Hema Simha Samanavitam, upon a golden throne, seating Srimad Bhagavatam in the golden Hema Simha, upon a golden throne. And Prashtapadyam Purnamasyam, when on the day of Purnamasi, which is full moon day. Which Purnamasi? In the month of Bhadra. Therefore, this campaign being run by His Grace Vaishashiki Prabhu as Bhadra campaign. This Bhadra Purnamasi is a golden opportunity for everybody to come together and distribute or give as a gift to everybody. Now it says golden throne, and to me, golden throne, you would keep someone on golden throne when you have appreciation, when you think that's the personality who deserves the best. That's who you give the golden throne to. Sometimes you keep your deities on the golden throne, isn't it? So if we can give Srimad Bhagavatam with a lot of respect to others, that's what it means, that we can hand it over in a golden throne to someone. To that someone, it will completely revolutionize their life. Tadvad vidarsam. What is that verse? I'm just trying to remember. Janatagaha viplavo. Tadvaga visargam janatagaha viplavo. It has the power. It has the power to bring about a public revolution. This is Srimad Bhagavatam claiming itself. Tadvaga visargam janataga viplavo yasmin pratish abadhavati api. I'm kind of trying to remember the verse. Yasmin pratishlokam abhadavati api. Even though if there are discrepancies in some sort of translations or transliterations, but this Srimad Bhagavatam has the power to revolutionize the world. So this is the gift that we can give. Now we generally give all kinds of gifts to all kinds of people, but this gift that we give this will change their life for eternity. This is for sure. And therefore, this particular Bhadra Purnima, which is just coming on the 10th of September, we have a golden opportunity to give out this beautiful gift to the world. I will just send you the link of link that I've opened here on the Zoom. Let me just see if I can just send in the chat here. You can please go through these links. There's a Bhadra at Bhaktivedanta Manor. It gives all the details. So what is it that you can do with it? What can you do? What all can you do? First of all, if we don't have yourself, if we don't have ourselves, we can go and get ourselves this particular gift. Now, if we have ourselves, we can buy for our friends. We can make a list of friends that we have because we are their well-wishers. Who else will give them if we don't? Because we know about it. They don't know about it. And therefore, out of compassion, out of friendship, as being the well-wisher for all of them, we should be able to sincerely offer this gift to them. If they give donations, that's most wonderful. But if they can't, we can sponsor and give it to them. And someday when they will read it, their eyes will open up to the spiritual world. They will not have to take birth and death, old age, disease again and again, and go through this cycle of unhappiness, of grief and misery, the Kalyam. Srimad Bhagavatam has the power to enlighten any living being, irrespective of their gender, of their caste, of their creed, of their any kind of material positions, any kind of political positions, name, fame, nothing. It is just beyond everything. It's beyond the mode of goodness. It's Suddha Sattva present in the material world. In material world, there is only three things present. There is ignorance, there is goodness, there is passion. Only in the heart of pure devotees you will get this transcendental Shuddha Sattva. And the same Shuddha Sattva nature, which is beyond material nature, which is beyond the scope of the reach of material nature, is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. When one reads Srimad Bhagavatam creates a platform or a bridge between the material world and the spiritual world through Shuddha Sattva. It can take us to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. In mode of goodness or Sattva, one feels satisfied, one is dutiful, one is always contented, one is happy, but it's a material mode of nature. Therefore, it will keep you back. In the case of Narad Muni also, after he had the darshan, still Lord told him that you will not be able to get my darshan again, because he was pure. But Lord was giving him a chance to come to him even more intensely by leaving some sort of mode of goodness quality in him, which was kind of getting him and holding him back in the material world till he completely burns out all those alls as well. But look at this. What have we got from Narad Muni, from Vyasadeva, from their hearts, which are pure? This beautiful literature has emerged. This literature has the power to take us to that Shuddha Sattva, to the transcendental platform of consciousness. Now, who can appreciate this? Devotees can really appreciate this. Those who are not in devotion are ignorant, like a child who's running after the toys of the world. But this is the real thing. They have to taste the honey inside the bottle. All they're leaking is outside the bottle. This inside the bottle honey is Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should share, we should inspire ourselves, we should inspire others, and somehow or the other get involved in this Bhadra campaign. And there's a big target that has been set up. Devnam Prabhu was sharing with me, and you can't go wrong. It's like getting a lottery, very little effort. And what is this verse is saying? That it gives, he will attain supreme transcendental destination. Supreme transcendental destination. We know the supreme transcendental destination is the word of Lord Krishna. just by doing this one activity, one may think, oh, no, not possible. How is this possible? That's true for everything that is being said. But it's all fact. It's real. It is said, you chant one holy name of the Lord and you'll be eternally liberated. Yes, the quality of the Lord's name, chanting, has to be without any offense. And that's the condition. Now, if you do that, you will realize God then and there. If you give this charity with all your heart, love, and devotion to someone, yes, this verse cannot be wrong. It is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Dadati yo Bhagavatam sayati paramam gatim. Dadati yo Bhagavatam sayati paramam gatim. It will happen. It is a fact. As much as everything else is a fact. This is a fact. And if we trust and believe this Shastra, then we can be very motivated to participate in the campaign. I have sent you both the links here, devotees. You can please go ahead and see if you can go and participate in that. I'm also sending a text message from the Prabhu on the chat here, on the chat. So please go through it. Okay. Oh, for some reason it's not coming. I don't know why. Anyways, it just actually says what I've just stated. Open your hearts and doors and accumulate the great gift of attaining spiritual destination by a set of sponsor as Vidyadan to villages in India. Here are the options. Donate or gift or sponsor a set in UK, £175. Sponsor a set to villages in India, only £99. And payment terms are flexible. You can pay in full or in installments. So if you go to these two links that I've just sent, you can find all these options in those links. Okay, I hope you find this inspiring. Okay, there's a message. Thank you for appreciation, Mataji. So if on the chat, I'm responding to the chat, Shipra Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji. So it's our earnest request to all the devotees. You're already doing various beautiful devotion services. If you can sort of stretch yourself and somehow or the other take that step, please do so. It will be very, very beneficial to all of us. So I'll leave the session now here. If there are any question around Bhadra, please let me know. Or you can leave a message here. We can take it, or else. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare